Back in 2013, New Mexico was in the grips of a historic drought that continues today. In Magdalena, water utilities manager Steve Bailey heard from customers saying they were getting air bubbles in their water lines. So Bailey went to check the village water well.
We don't have any water in this well. No warning, no anything, nothing to tell me that, this was coming.
The water level was sitting inches below the water pump's reach, and according to Bailey, 15 feet lower than the last time he'd checked. He showed the mayor, called an emergency meeting, and told the townspeople they had a day, 2 days at most, before the village would run out of water completely.
It was quite the mob scene, to stand in front of, what people did show up. Who were very upset, like, what is going on? What happened to the water? What did you guys do wrong?
Emergency water tanks, bottled water and porta potties were trucked in from surrounding towns. Stacey Timmons with the New Mexico Bureau of Geology and Mineral Resources came to assess the well and the situation.
People were in a daze. It was unbelievable. It was a complete shock that this is what was going on in this town. They were kind of walking around like zombies in some way, because you turn on the faucet and nothing comes out, and it's hard to believe how much that actually affects a person. You can't wash your hands, you can't cook, you can't do the simple things.
Despite the water restrictions, some businesses continue to operate. To keep her doors open, at the M&M Hotel, Linda Mansell brought in 2 porta potties and secured enough water from friends and outside sources.
I was just kind of using the tactics that I would have used if I was out in the woods, or like if I was serving for the Forest Service people out in the field and stuff, and you just take your water and boiling water and stuff like that, and just you have your certain tubs with chlorine and clean water and paper plates and stuff like that too. So
Mansell says she lost some of her permanent hotel tenants, but otherwise business was actually good while the water was off. Customers didn't mind eating off paper plates and with plastic utensils. Other Magdalena businesses were not so fortunate. The water well's failure dealt a death blow to Magdalena's only coin laundry. It's now an agricultural supply business. Other firms saw major losses when the village cancelled its July heritage event, the Old Timers Reunion, to protect the water supply. Mansell says it brings as many as 1,000 people into town every year.
It'll give us about maybe 50% of kickstart for another, through the winter.
A group of local businesses, including the owners of the laundromat, have filed a lawsuit against the village for their losses, citing negligence in maintaining the main well and alternative wells. Bailey says he checked the main well every year as he was supposed to.
That, as far as I'm concerned, was, act of God, or whatever you want to call it.
But New Mexico tech hydrologist Fred Phillips says when you look at the temperatures, rainfall and capacity of Magdalena's well, it isn't all that surprising the village went dry.
Is it just like lightning striking out of the blue, or is it something that maybe we could understand and predict and give people some warning of? Well, the answer is that yes, it probably can be predicted.
But Phillips says predictions are not always available to small villages like Magdalena with limited resources and expertise. And that's what Phillips is working to change. Using Magdalena as a model, he's developing a user-friendly groundwater monitoring service that would allow water utilities throughout the state to get information and receive electronic alerts if groundwater drops to dangerously low levels, such as those seen in Magdalena.
The National Weather Service now provides us with warnings about things like flash floods, about tornadoes, about heat waves, and so on. People make use of those warnings to do all kinds of things. They're just a routine facet of our everyday life. We don't have any warnings now about things like water levels declining and wells going dry, but there's no reason that we shouldn't.
Stacey Timmons with the New Mexico Bureau of Geology and Mineral Resources says the project could be expanded statewide in the next 3 years, but she says enhancing resources is only half the battle. Timmons says the Magdalena crisis highlighted concerns about water regulation in New Mexico.
They only require that communities measure their well water level once per year, and it had been done. The individual in Magdalena had been doing exactly what he was told. He measured it once per year.
Magdalena residents and business owners like Mansell have cut their water use dramatically since the town went dry. Per person daily use dropped from as much as 175 gallons before the water crisis to around 75 gallons today. By comparison, Las Cruces residents average about 166 gallons a day.
I have cut down a lot on the water, knowing that we don't need to use that much, and I do that at home also. Plus I have big tubs. When that water comes down from the rain, it comes in some big tubs at the house and stuff, so I try to use that for my plants.
Magdalena's water supply has since stabilised, but Phillips says had it not been for some of the heaviest rain on record in the September after the crisis, the town might still be recovering. Water Utilities Manager Steve Bailey says the village spent upwards of $200,000 to get 2 out-of-use water wells back online. He now checks the town's water wells every single month. For KRWG, I'm Simon Thompson.